Space Mountain is a high-speed, thrilling ride in the dark with sudden drops, turns, and stops.
At least that's what Disneyland tells you. We're going to tell you what we think on this episode of Ride Commandos. Hey everybody, I'm Randy.
And I'm Sam.
And we're excited that you're here with us for our first episode of Ride Commandos, where we do a deep dive into all the rides and attractions that make Disneyland and Disney California Adventure so much fun. We've enjoyed going to the parks over the years, and we want to share with you some of the thoughts we have about some of our favorite rides.
I hope you guys get the chance to know us better over when we upload all of our videos. Like, I'm like the fact guy, he's like the fun guy.
Yeah, nice dad joke. And we want to tell you about some of the things, some of the elements that go into making these rides special. So let's tell you about how this is going to work. We've come up with 5 categories for each ride. We're going to give each category on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the best, 0 being and let you know what we think of each of these elements. Obviously, all 5 elements together can get a perfect score of 50, which means a perfect ride. Do you think we'll see a perfect ride, Sam?
No.
No, but we'll get some that are close, and today's ride may be one of those. So the 5 elements we're looking at, the first thing is the ride exterior, how it fits into the land itself. That's worth 10 points. The second category is going to be the queue, and how the queue is themed, how well it fits with the ride, and what the story that it's trying to tell. The third element is going to be the ride vehicle and the loading area where you get onto the ride. The fourth element is, of course, the ride itself, and how fun is it, how well themed it is, are there animatronics, are there other interesting things to look at, what kind of story does it tell, how do you feel when you get off of it. And then the 5th category is going to be the X factor, and that's some of those elements that can make a ride better or worse depending on what that X factor is. Maybe it doesn't fit into a specific category. So with that, we're going to go ahead and talk about Space Mountain.
Here are a few fast facts for you about Space Mountain. Space Mountain opened on May 27th, 1977, and has for a long time been one of Disneyland's most loved attractions. It is one of 4 of the mountain attractions, which are used as landmarks around the park. There was this weird time when Space Mountain was repainted to refit Tomorrowland in a weird bronze, green, red color.
Ouch. Not good.
Yeah. Anyway, Space Mountain was closed later to be refurbished, to undergo a major refurbishment for the 50th anniversary of Disneyland. And when it was repainted to its original white.
Thank goodness for that. And one fun fact, the movie Star Wars opened 2 days before Space Mountain. Coincidence? I think not. So let's go ahead and rate Space Mountain. First thing on the menu is the exterior. The exterior is how well Space Mountain fits into Tomorrowland and how it looks just on its own merits. As you can see, we're fans of the mountains. Space Mountain holds a prominent area of our t-shirts. Space Mountain is one of those rides that immediately you see it and you know this is going to be cool. It's a huge icon in Tomorrowland and in the park itself. It really stands as a tent pole that kind of holds the rest of Tomorrowland up.
Yeah.
Now, while there's other elements of Tomorrowland that are kind of not so great.
Cough, cough, Autopia.
I didn't say that, but I agree. Space Mountain definitely stands above the rest. And if they ever redo all of Tomorrowland, they can pretty much get rid of everything except Space Mountain. That's got to stay. So I'm going to give the exterior a rating of a perfect 10.
Yeah, that's pretty much...
Took the words right out of his mouth.
Yes. Yeah, it's just, it has that iconic space look. Like it looks like it's supposed to be a space station going around the stars. So I also give it a 10 out of 10. And now we go into the queue. The queue for Space Mountain is half good. When you enter the ride, you go into like this weird cement restaurant. You enter in through there, which isn't really themed good. It doesn't feel like what it should be after you've seen the exterior you're going in. And you keep going up to some cement walkways into this weird empty plaza. It is cool to look at the mountain, however, it would be nice if they just had more to look at. So it's just not that good until you get inside of the mountain. Once you're inside of the mountain, it feels like you're in a space station. It feels really cool. Best of all, it's air conditioned. It's in California. Yeah. So for the reason that the outside doesn't feel like Space Mountain, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. If there's one category that Space Mountain's gonna suffer a little bit, it's the queue. The outside portion, like Sam said, there's not a lot to look at. Feels like an 80s shopping mall, going up an escalator, some stairs, things like that. The outside portion, the plaza, other than the mountain, there's not much to look at there either. I think in the old days of Tomorrowland, you had the People Mover, you had the Astro Orbiter that you could see up there, and it probably had a little more kinetic energy and it was a little more exciting. But right now, the outside portion is not good. Once you get into the building, yeah, you see it looks more like a spaceport that you're walking into. It's got some little video monitors and some more interesting things to look at. So it's half a good queue, and for reason I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. All right, so our next category is the ride vehicles themselves and the loading area. And Space Mountain really excels here. It's got a cool loading area. It looks like a spaceport with a docked spaceship. Big screen there showing some planets. You kind of wind your way down in anticipation of getting onto the ride. It's a really cool boarding area. The vehicles themselves are great. You sit side by side. They're comfortable. And I have no complaints, especially compared to the ones at Disney World where you sit in a row. These are much better and much easier to get in and out of. So I'm going to give the loading area and the vehicles a perfect 10.
Yeah, it's just a cool sci-fi feel, which is what you want to feel during Space Mountain. And like you said, those ride vehicles, they're comfortable, not like the Matterhorn, and there's lots of also room to put your backpack and other things you might have, whereas in some ride vehicles in Disneyland, there's not a lot of room to put stuff, and it's hard. So the ride vehicles are great. So I'm agreeing with you, and I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, so we're in sync on this element. The only weird thing is those guys that sit in the tower right before your ride vehicle takes off. At first I thought they were animatronics because they barely move, but they are actual people. They don't really respond to you, which made us wonder if they're guarding the Disney vaults. What do you think?
That's it. And now we come to the main event itself, the ride, the thing that you came there for. So, Space Mountain is an amazing ride. You start off in anticipation as you weave through the cool-looking light tunnels. It gives that nice aesthetic that you're about to launch off into space. And then you build up in anticipation as you come to a place where you start going really fast. And then the music builds up in anticipation. By the way, the soundtrack to that ride is my favorite soundtrack. We'll talk about that later. But you just go off and it's a thrilling ride. You go really fast. You feel like you're going fast. That's actually another fun fact. Those ride vehicles don't actually go that fast. It's just that you can't see where you're going in the dark, so it just makes it feel fast, which is one of the cool things, is that you can't see where you're going, adds the extra level of surprise. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. The reason I don't give it a perfect 10 out of 10 is because in that fast area where you're going around turns and corners, it's just, the star aesthetic is cool, with all the little stars everywhere. It looks really cool. However, it is a little bit bland with just the stars. It could use some planets or other things that could go in, and that would make the ride just a little bit better. What do you think?
Yeah, I have to agree with you on your assessment of the ride. It's super fun. It feels fast. I think the ride goes 35, 40 miles per hour. I can't remember. But it feels much faster. You have that sensation that at any time your head could be taken off by a track above you. So it makes you a little nervous to put your hands up, but yet you want to do it because you're having so much fun screaming down in the dark. It does lack a little as far as interior theming. You get a Starfield projection thanks to a disco ball with a light on it. But I wish there was some planets, maybe shooting stars, comets, some other celestial bodies that would be fun to look at as you're screaming down to the finish line. The entry, the beginning tunnel with the lights is perfect, as is the finish tunnel where you get to take your, right before you take your ride photo. But because the actual ride itself lacks a few things, I gave it an 8 out of 10. Not bad, super fun, super cool, but could be better. All right, that brings us to our final category, X Factor. These are some of the elements that can make or break a ride. And Space Mountain's got some cool extra things going on. Sam talked about the music by Michael Giacchino. Perfectly syncs with the ride, with the twists and turns. It just adds a whole new level to the ride itself. Kind of like when you go to a good movie, the soundtrack can add so much to a great movie. And the same thing happens with this, is that soundtrack is perfect. There's also some holiday overlays, which are fun. Well, at least one holiday. You've got the Ghost Galaxy overlay around Halloween time. It was a little scary. I think Sam took him a few years to want to get on it with me, right? All right, I shamed him. But he gets on it now, and it's not too bad. We also really love the new Star Wars overlay. You know, it's nice that it's seasonal. It's nice to see it in different modes, but especially when there's a new Star Wars film out, it's really fun to go and experience the John Williams music, see some TIE fighters and some projections that could be a little better, but still are a lot of fun. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 9, close to a perfect score X Factor. There could be a few more things here and there to make it even more cool, but for now, it's great. They do some great things with it.
Yeah, like you said about the soundtrack by Michael Giacchino, it is my favorite ride soundtrack of the park. And the Hyperspace Mountain and Ghost Galaxy it's a cool change. It's nice to see it changed up a little bit. I'm going to agree with you that it gets a 9 out of 10. Yeah. And now we've come to the final scores. I gave...
Drum roll? No? Okay.
I gave the ride a 44 out of 50.
I gave it a 42 out of 50, which may seem a little low, but really it's pretty close to perfect, and you can't get much better than Space Mountain. So that's it for today's episode. We had a lot of fun talking about Space Mountain, breaking down the different elements that make it the special ride that it is, and we look forward to the next episode. And as a teaser, this next episode is going to feature a ride that opened with the opening of the park in 1955. It's not a wild ride, but it is in the wild.
Since we are a new channel, we'd really love it and appreciate it if you would like this video and consider subscribing.
So for those about to ride, I salute you.